Welcome to the Nate and Dorin podcast. We are professional videographers based in Vancouver, Canada, and we are here to talk about relevant topics within the video and media industry. I'm Nate, and I run Nate Dixon Media.
And I'm Dorin, the videographer, solo entrepreneur offering video production services. Today, we are going to discuss what software and what plugins we use in our productions that we do. Obviously, for videographers, software is essential, but there are so many different types of video editing applications and plugins that we thought it would be interesting to kind of discuss what we use, what we have in common, and maybe we'll hear some new things that we didn't know existed, but the other person's using. So let me ask you, Nate. Let's get the elephant in the room, or the main one right off the bat. What is your video editing software?
My main editing software would be Premiere Pro. That's what I learned the most in school at BCIT. It was the first software I downloaded after Windows Movie Maker back when I was
Mhm.
a wee little young lad. And yeah, it's just been my bread and butter. I've got all my hotkeys memorized. They're all Premiere Pro ones. I can just blaze through edits, and that's been my go-to. What about you?
So you'd say you'd be using it for what, 7 years now?
Uh, I think I first downloaded it when I was probably like 14. So that'd
Oh,
be,
so before school, before BCAT
oh
then.
yeah. Yeah, back when I was just making videos with friends with like our parents' digital cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as we kind of reached the limit of Movie Maker, we wanted to start in adding in, keyed out explosions or
Yeah,
different types of effects.
we saw those videos. That's true. Yeah,
Yeah, so that was
the
all
blast from
you
the
just
past was edited
that's
on Premiere,
yeah.
also
So
from the
I
past.
didn't know. Yeah, that was before CC 20 whatever year versions. That was like CS2. I
Right,
remember using it in
Creative
school,
Suite.
and
Yeah.
yeah, back when it wasn't a paid subscription, you just bought it for the year.
Hmm.
It was just
Some
maybe I'm looking at it.
with time things get better, but also worse.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I've been. Because I did that BCIT program the year before, in the video editing class or in the video class, they didn't teach us on Premiere. They taught us on Final Cut. Um,
Final Cut 7, right? Not FCPX.
yeah, no, not yeah, because that one came out the year after. Because I did it in 2010 to 2011, and that came out around that time, I think. Um, yeah, so around when Adobe CS6 or no 5.5 was a thing, but they didn't do that in school at BCAT in the year that I took the course. But they did do After Effects and Photoshop and Illustrator like everything else. So I think they realized like, okay, uh, let's just teach Premiere. So, because I think I mentioned this in our first episode when we introduced ourselves, but when I got hired at the first place after I did the school that was specifically video, like within my industry, I had to learn Premiere Pro on the go. They're like, "Do you know how to use this?" Like, I'll learn it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um. So yeah, the Adobe Suite in general is something that I've used ever since I completed school. So Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, Premiere Pro. Do you
Audition.
Audition? I used when I was working for that company. I haven't really used it myself, like for freelance or for personal projects. I mostly use Audacity. I've never had the need to use an advanced feature from
Mm,
Audition. So, for example, noise reduction, Audacity can do, and Premiere Pro, 2013 and up, I think they've managed to get that working pretty good. They had adaptive noise reduction as a built-in plugin.
hmm.
Um, yeah, and I think as we discussed in the last episode, sound design is not my strong suit and it's something I need to work on. So, yeah, maybe I should look into Audition a bit more.
Yeah,
Didn't you mention in one of our other episodes that you're also starting to use DaVinci?
yeah. So DaVinci Resolve has been constantly improving, and in the free version. Their paid version is a one-time payment as well, but even their free version now, you can export and edit in 4K. You have access to all the different color grading options. The audio syncing feature is better than and faster than Premiere Pro in some instances. The
Hmm.
stabilization, like instead of using Warp Stabilizer, the stabilizer in DaVinci Resolve is, I get way better results from it.
Oh,
So there's
and
clear
that's in the
advantages to it.
free version?
Yeah. Yep.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
There you
So
go.
it
Learned
is
something
just,
new today, folks.
yeah, it's definitely worth trying out. The workflow is kind of different. Whereas Adobe, you have your Premiere, your After Effects, your media encoder, your Audition. DaVinci actually kind of takes you through different workspaces all in the same program. So you're not dynamically linking to different things. You've got your Edit tab that would be more like Premiere Pro, and then you've got a node-based After Effects style. Instead of layers, it's nodes, so it's slightly different. It's more like Nuke or something else.
Like
But that's kind of where,
pre-comps.
yeah, I haven't had to do too much heavy stuff in that, but yeah, it'd be pre-comps, titles, motion graphics, that kind of stuff, keying. And then you've got your really robust color correction, color grading. And then they have a part called Fairlight, which is like Adobe Audition, where you just switch that workspace. It blows up your timeline where it's just all the sound tracks, um, and that's where you can really fine tune and add, effects to different uh, clips, or you can just overlay it over the entire channel or
Hmm.
input or whatever. And then in the deliver tab, that's kind of like media encoder where you can queue up your exports, set your in and out points, delivery, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a different approach. And for some projects, I'm really liking it.
Nice. But you stated that Premiere is still your go-to.
Yeah, Premiere I find is still quicker and more responsive on my machine. I know it like the back of my hand, so if I just need to like power through a bunch of clips or whatever, Premiere is still my go-to. And yeah, that's probably just all that built-in muscle memory and the
Hmm.
fact that I've been using it for over a decade, and it
Hmm.
hasn't changed that much, the interface, for better or for worse.
True. Yeah. But in all these years of Premiere, you can say you've seen it improve, but you've also seen it um not devolve, that's not the right word, but hiccup.
Yeah, sure, you could call it a hiccup. Yeah, there's definitely memorable glitches along the way that I think we both ran into at
Yeah.
that workplace. Do you remember
I can't
the
remember the exact year, but it wasn't just us. It was a Adobe problem. The red frame issue. I don't know what Adobe and the forums call it, but we call like it's a red frame that would randomly appear at the beginning of a clip, and either it would blink for a second or it would be the entire clip as red.
just a
And only
full
when you
red?
export do you see it, not while playing back.
Yeah, so you had to watch your entire export through the entire way. You couldn't just like skip by 10 seconds because the red frame could be
You couldn't blink because you
right
might
there.
miss it. I mean,
Yeah,
if it's just a single frame, whatever. Um, but if it's an entire like, if you're on that clip from a multicam for 15 seconds, yeah, you gotta replace that because you can't be selling a professional product with uh, unprofessional
Yeah,
random red screen.
yeah.
I've
Even if it does
actually,
blink for one frame, I think
yeah,
that's unacceptable too. It's just
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, especially because it wouldn't just happen once in a video. It might happen like we had hour-long presentation, and it would happen like a dozen times within that hour, so it would get noticeable. People would think there's something wrong with their TV, maybe, or their browser that they're watching the video in. So yeah, I agree. It
Mm.
was unacceptable, but I can't remember what the workaround for that was. I think like restarting, cleaning the media cache, restarting the computer, and adjusting the clip. So like, okay, let's put it one frame into the other one. Like, let's nudge the cut one frame left or right. I think that forced it to resample.
Mm. And of course, if anybody has used Premiere for a while, they probably know all these different things you can try to reset it. You know, clean the media cache,
Hmm.
nest, like create a new sequence,
Oh yeah.
copy and paste the file to like create a sequence, a copy of the project and open that.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
export software only instead of hardware accelerated,
Hmm.
export within Premiere instead of sending to media encoder. You know, there's a lot of troubleshooting with Premiere sometimes. So it's definitely has its share of bugs, and they've gotten better and worse in different
Yep.
areas. Did you ever have the one where after like you'd right click an audio track, edit in Adobe Audition, you know paint out the noise or the frequencies that you wanted to get rid of, you'd save and you'd go back to Premiere. Sometimes when I started playing back the audio, it would go like full blast volume and just be like,
I encountered that once. Yes, I remember now that you
oh,
describe it. Yeah.
I it was so loud I like threw my headphones off the first time I had it. And so every time after that, after I switched back, I would take my headphones off, hit play, and make sure it didn't do that. It's like the most obnoxious
Yeah.
bug.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm actually having an issue like right now in the last couple of days where if I hit the my hotkey, I don't know if this is the default one or I set this one, but in order to make a certain window inside of Premiere full screen. So
yeah.
let's say you have your audio tracks or audio mixer here, and you just want to monitor that full screen. I hit the tilde key, right? Um, when I do that for the preview window, it goes black. If I hit
Mm,
play, it starts playing normal and I see everything. If I minimize it back to where it is, I see when it's paused. But I wanted to see it paused in full screen, and it's not doing that for some reason. I updated Premiere and my graphics card and restarted the computer, and it's still there. At least it's not making me do extra edits. It's just an inconvenience. I have to have the video playing, but I'm judging like a specific frame by frame cut because I'm trying to match the speaker when I'm switching the camera angle so that his mouth is closed on both scenes.
mm,
Because it's like a cut and I took out like 10 seconds of whatever. And it's just like it's not working. It has to be playing and I have to judge like a split frame
mm,
instead of going key by key, like frame by frame. It's Premiere Pro. It's one of those things where you just accept it. It's like an abusive spouse at one, at a certain point, it's just like you're numb to it, and you're like, okay, another problem, great. As long as I get to export my video, I'm happy. But that's not good. Oh man. And with DaVinci, you said it's a one-time fee, right? But if either I'm confusing this with different software or this is what I remember. I remember that it is a one-time fee. You get to keep it and use it indefinitely, but if you want the updates, that's only valid for 1 or 2 years. If you want the most up-to-date version, you can't just bring out your license key from 10 years ago and they'll say, yeah, I have the newest one with the newest features. Is that correct? Or am I confusing that with a different software?
I don't actually know. Like I've just stayed on the free version of
Right.
and have gotten everything out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be like the next big release, like right now you've got DaVinci Resolve 17.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say 18 comes out. I don't know what the price is to upgrade from a 17 license versus to buy it outright.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I'd have
Yeah.
to look into. But
Okay.
yeah, it's not your 30 to 50 to whatever dollars per month you pay for Creative Cloud.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, that's video editing. What you gonna do? um, so what let's go past video editing because we can talk about our experiences with Premiere Pro. Like I when they went from the yellow highlights of a window, active window to the blue, I was
Mm,
disappointed even though my favorite color is blue, but I'm used to it now. But
mm.
like things like these, I can give you like just recounting all the years. Let's just move on. What's different software that you use that's not directly like video or graphic design, but it aids in your workflow?
Okay. Well, one I use is NordVPN. I tried ExpressVPN and a few others, but NordVPN just worked the best for me. So I waited to like
Okay, and what does
uh,
that do exactly?
you can change your IP address. So if I need to watch a video that's on YouTube that's like region locked or whatever,
Hmm.
I can switch to the US and then I can access YouTube, or like let's say something's on the BBC website that a client asked me to look at. If I'm editing remotely, sometimes I'll just change it to the United Kingdom. So and also,
Okay.
if you're editing on a laptop in like a coffee shop or something like that, you're connecting to their open Wi-Fi. Um, you turn on your VPN so that they can't just like spy on everything you're going through if it's not a
Oh,
home network.
right.
So it's an extra layer of security too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
And,
that's
and that's like what, $10 a month, $8 a month?
yeah, I think I got it less than that because I signed up for like a 3-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so they subsidize that, and then I also got it on like a Black Friday deal, I believe. So
Okay.
yeah,
And it's just
that's the
something that
best time.
runs in the background?
Yeah, you can turn it off, you can turn it on. It's got an app for your phone, for your computer, whatever. So you can set up different profiles for different countries, or if you want to prioritize speed or security. So it's got a few different options.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just realized I didn't put my phone on mute, so let me just do that right now, just so I don't get a random email notification. Um, no, that's interesting. Um, I guess I should mention the software that I'm using right now to record this with, OBS, Open Broadcaster Software. Um, it's something that you are familiar with, right?
Yep. Yeah, I've used it a little bit.
So briefly, it's you can do live streaming with it. You can do local recording with it. You can add, capture video like a webcam, or if you have a different video source plugged into your computer, um, you could record your entire screen, or you could record a specific window. So it's very flexible. It's got a lot of stuff. A lot of streamers use it. A lot of videographers that I know use it. And I personally use it for whether I'm recording gameplay or doing a live stream for a client. That's my go to software. And it's free and it's constantly getting updates and it's got an active community. So it's something that has picked up steam along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's your go-to choice if you're looking to record your screen for anything.
Yeah, like you might have a client that asks you to advertise their website, or their product is a piece of software. So you have to record your screen using the software, right? Uh, you know, like let's give an example. NordVPN, if you had to do a ad for them, you would record your screen and show the pop-up, the notification, the your security or whatever, right? So it's got that application. Actually, we used it at the company we worked at. We used it to screen record present. chapters slides so that we wouldn't have to insert the slide one by one and time it. We would basically have this screen recording their laptop, and it's another camera angle that you switch to, and it just simplified work so much.
Hmm. Yeah, and it captured the cursor too. So
Mm.
if the speaker, was using their cursor to go over a different text or circle something or highlight something, you didn't. I
Or
think one project you had
yeah.
to manually add a cursor in, didn't you?
Yes, not only the cursor but also the delay effect on the cursor because old person is stuck in Windows 95 and that's how he's presenting. And I didn't animate it manually. I yeah, I used OBS to screen record my mouse going over his slides. I was following him as he's uh, but also we had it was a huge lifesaver when we had people that had animated slides. So like fancy
Mm-hmm.
transitions and sparkles or stuff is like slowly fading in and the background's moving. Like if you export slides, it's not exporting the animation because it's a still image. Um, so they're like, "Oh, I put so much time and effort into that." Like, okay, there you go. OBS solved that problem. So it's I think yeah, I picked it up after I learned about Premiere, but after Premiere, it is my second most used uh, software for my video work.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and what's your most used software for just audio stuff, would you say?
I think I mentioned I just use Audacity because my sound design is weak. So Audacity is another freeware that hasn't seen too many updates. One cool feature though is you can just add VST plugins to it. So if you want more complex reverbs or stuff that's above just the basic stuff, that's what I like about it. It's got that e- potential to expand and to use other people's VST plugins. And that's about it. Like Audacity or what's inside Premiere already.
Mm-hmm. One cool feature I'd want to shout out for Adobe Audition is the remix function. So let's say you downloaded your royalty free song that the client wants. Let's say it's 2 minutes long, but the client has a 3 minute long video. So in the past, you would have to go to, let's say, the intro, stretch it out a bit, repeat the chorus an extra time, and try and like cut and paste these different parts of the songs to make it fit that 3 minute mark.
Yeah,
Or you'd have to beat match, loop, crossfade the two different tracks, that kind of stuff.
yeah, that sounds like what
So,
I'm currently doing. Yeah.
so
Why are you making
a
it
few,
sound like it's outdated that I'm doing that? What's your
well,
solution?
Dorin, a few years ago, Audition added a remix feature.
Nah.
So here's what you do: you open up the file, you drag it into like a multi-track composition or whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can enable the remix feature. You set the desired length of the song and you give it a parameters like within five. Let's say if you have a 2 minute song, you say you want it within 5 seconds of 3 minutes, and it needs a bit of that buffer so that it can time it properly. If you if you didn't set that with a large enough tolerance, it wouldn't be able to stop like on the beat or do its full outro of the song. So
Okay.
you give it these parameters and it will analyze the song structure, make seamless cut points, and stretch it to your desired length. So I've used this for like an hour long presentation, like you say, where they want background music, they want a sound bed. You get like a 4 minute track, you can stretch it to an hour and it just seamlessly loops it perfectly. And it's
Eek.
like none of that work. It's amazing.
Okay, that sounds really cool. I would have two scenarios where I don't think I would use it. So my first scenario is I had a client specifically give me like, okay, this is the 1 minute video, highlight
Mm-hmm.
video, promo video. This is a 3 minute song, and they needed me to use the 1 minute uh, or sorry, yeah, no, that's because you're talking this thing stretches. So sorry, let me give a different example. I had a client that they had a 3 minute highlight video and they had a 2 minute song that they really liked, and they're like, "Can you just repeat it?" But they didn't like a 10-second chunk where the drums were too exaggerated, because it was building up too much hype and it didn't get to that point in the video where we needed the drums. So I had to s- specifically leave out like a fifth of the song and loop the rest. So would would you be able to define an area for the remix to not use?
Hmm.
Hmm.
I don't
Huh.
know if you trimmed it shorter or you had those two separate clips. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if you'd be able to do that.
Oh,
I
I
would
see. So does Audition have layering or pre-composition type of concept?
I don't think so. I think in your multi-track,
Okay.
when you like double click the sound, it goes into directly like the spectrograph or
Mm-hmm.
waveform editor.
Because then maybe I can just take out the chunk that I don't want and export that
Yeah, you could do
and
that.
tell
You
it
trim
to
that
stretch it
sound
then.
out.
And the second
Yeah.
case scenario I'm thinking of is what if a song has like a build up, an intense part, and a really chill ambient part, and then another build up and then it ends. Would it would it like if the song is just consistent, it's easy to loop, but if it's like
Hmm.
fluctuating like that in tempo, in intensity, and in instruments, I'm really curious to see how it would handle that. Have you ever tested it with something a bit more complex?
For that, there's a few parameters you can adjust, like what's the smallest section of song it can loop. I think you can adjust that.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
And then when you do stretch it out, there's like little zigzag marks. You can see where it's done the stitching. Um, so you can see where it's repeated the chill parts, where it's repeated the big parts. And I would probably just mess around with the length to see how it's repeating it. So even if you only need 3 minutes out of a 2 minute song, maybe you set it to 4 minutes, see how it stretches it, and then you could do your trimming from there.
Man, like I'm getting some ideas. I'm gonna have to go into this and mess around with it because now I have two ideas that I want to test out. One, I wonder what it's gonna do to a normal voice. So maybe because it
Mm,
doesn't pick up a beat or a rhythm, it won't work. But let's say you use a
mm,
cappella cover version. I wonder what it's
mm.
gonna do to that. That would be interesting if any weird stuff happens. But I'm thinking there's a couple of epic soundtracks that are like movie soundtracks that are really short. They're 2 minutes, and nobody on the internet has a properly cut and repeated and looped extended version because it's a complex song. And
Mhm.
but I wonder if this software could do it. I'm gonna
Mm.
test it out, and I'll get back to you next week, Nate. So
Awesome.
you got me pumped for this.
Sweet.
Yeah. What about do you use any software to back up files? I know I do. Or do you just manually like copy, paste, overwrite? How do you back up files? Do you use software for that?
So on Mac, I just use Time Machine. I've got a backup like 3 terabyte hard drive, and my MacBook is only 1 terabyte, so I was able to keep a full backup at all times. And for Windows right now, I don't actually have a file backup software solution. Whenever I've
Ooh.
copied footage off of a camera that I'm using, I'll copy it to my local SSD and then to an external drive. So I do have it in two separate places all
Mm-hmm.
the time.
Well, I can definitely recommend the one I'm using. It's called Free File Sync, and it is free. Um, and it actually does some very specific things, like you can take a folder or an entire hard drive and compare it to your backup, and assuming you want to create a mirror image or a clone of it, it would compare the files, tell you which one has the newer version. So let's say you actually did something on the backup, and that's where the newer version is. It would tell you
Hmm.
um, which files are in addition on which hard drive, and then you can switch them up and say, okay, I want the new version from the backup to be backed up onto this, but I want the new files put into here, and the new files that are here because they're not in the original, that's because I deleted them, so I want you to delete that. Like it actually has that complexity level to it that makes if you haven't backed up in a long time and shenanigans happen on both hard drives, it kind of makes it easier for that
Hmm.
to copy over. And it's even got like one of those options like when transfers complete, shut down or go to sleep. Um,
Hmm.
so Free File Sync I've been using for 2 years now, and it's just amazing. It just makes everything so much easier. Um, yeah, because it's easier than just like putting two windows side by side and like going folder by folder, checking file size,
Hmm.
checking folder size. Just forget it. This thing just does it automatically. And
Cool.
obviously, it displays all this info before saying, okay, copy or clone. And it's got, like, clone is only one of the options. It's got like two or three other options, but I just don't use them. Um, So I think it might just have the option to just copy new files or I don't know. Look into it.
I will. Does it have a scheduler? Like, can it run every night or every week?
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure it does. I would not use it, me personally. Stream went off for a second because this thing full screened. It has got comparison settings, synchronization. Pretty sure it does have a scheduler. So, oh, you can do a two-way, which is what I described. It compares both hard drives. You can do a mirror of
Hmm.
the one. You can do an update to only copy the new stuff and never delete anything old. Um, yeah, I don't know where it is off the bat. I'm pretty sure it does have it, but I would, for at least for my comfort level, I would advise against using a real time at the end of the day backup, because what if next day you're like, oh, I shouldn't have deleted that. Well, guess what? It's not on your backup anymore either.
Yeah, I guess it depends what mode you've got
Or,
set
or
to
your
mirror it.
client changes their mind. And they're like,
Right.
well, you know what? I didn't want to use that for this video, but we'll use it for our next video. Like, it's gone.
Yeah. So I guess you'd want the never delete setting where it
Yeah.
just only copies the new stuff and keeps everything old until
Mm-hmm.
the hard drive fills up too much if you
Mm-hmm.
were worried about that kind of thing.
Me personally, I'm too much of a control freak, so that's why I want to manually do it. I want it to tell me exactly what it's doing for me to confirm it.
Hmm.
Just because it's not an issue of me trusting having a trust issue with the software. It's a trust issue with myself in the past. Like maybe maybe for certain projects I do want to delete the old files, but maybe for another project I would have a motive to keep it. So that's why I would not want it to automatically decide for me, because I might decide something different because I know what's in my
Hmm.
head and what I'm planning. But that's just me.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Have you used Handbrake?
I have used Handbrake to back in the day rip DVDs.
Oh
That was
yeah,
my main. That was the main thing I used it
I
for.
forgot. Yeah, that's what we used it for. I remember, and I'm just mostly using it to re-encode for smaller file size. So especially like preview videos that I'm sending to clients. Um, I forgot that it does that. DVDs. Well, I forgot that DVDs exist. So 2021. Yeah, so it's another freeware that just does the job and is amazing.
Yeah, straightforward. Yeah, even when you're DVD ripping, you can even separate it out by only doing certain chapters or like just the behind the scenes.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So yeah, we both recommend that, don't we?
Yeah, yeah, it's never let me down. It's always helped me. I can't remember if I can't remember. This was a few years ago, but I I had a corrupt video file that Premiere and Media Encoder were not picking up on, and I think I used Handbrake and it did read it and it did export it to something that I could use. I'm not
Mm,
100% sure, but I remember a miracle happening at some point where I used a different software, and not Premiere, and not, a media player like VLC wouldn't play it.
mm.
It would say corrupt, and this thing fixed it. But don't quote me on that. What
Okay.
else do you use, Nate? Throw me, like, we've identified pretty much, I think, everything we both use. What's something that you use that I probably don't use?
Okay. Well, I know you're not a Mac guy,
Yeah.
but my main machine was a MacBook up until a couple months ago,
Hmm.
and a nice little plugin that I used was Magnet. So it's on the
Okay.
Apple App Store, and what it does is it's kind of like a window resizing tool.
Oh.
So I really like one of the things I do like about Windows is the window resizing. So you can drag it to the corner and it'll snap to that upper quadrant. Mac doesn't have that. You can maximize,
Oh.
you can do that. You can like drag to the edges and then manually resize it, but there's no like snapping and
Hmm.
quickly doing side by side. I find myself a lot putting two windows side by side and I want it like split right down the middle. I don't want to have to like resize the windows manually. Oh, hit my pop filter there. So Magnet actually enables this, and you can even set up hotkeys. So
Okay.
it'd be like Control left, and it'll fill the whole left side of the screen with that window.
Right. So
And
that helps you with like accessing files faster and more neatly, and speeding up your workflow, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I get kind of OCD about window sizes, and making sure they're filling up the whole screen if I want it full screen or half.
Yeah.
I remember working with other editors, and they would just kind of like layer the windows on top of each other and all kind of mishmash, and you can see the desktop behind, and that's just not my style.
Yeah. I could
It
agree
works for
with
some
that.
people,
Yeah.
but I don't want it like sheets of paper laying on top of each other. I want it like here's exactly half and half, or here's quarters. If I'm like doing two copies from cards to the hard drive or whatever. So that
Hmm.
was something that I really enjoyed. Magnet. Something that I use on Windows to emulate the behavior of Mac is something called Quick Look. So
Okay.
I really like how in Mac you can hit spacebar in the Finder and preview a file really quickly without having to fully open it. So if you want to quickly check a video, spacebar. You don't have to open QuickTime or anything like that. So there's this extension for Windows where if you want to quickly view a PDF or listen to a song without opening it in Windows Media Player or whatever, you just hit spacebar and it starts playing. So that's something that I feel is missing in Windows that Mac does really good natively.
Hmm.
So this thing called Quick Look, it's not as good as the Mac version, but for me, it's still I prefer that to like double clicking it and hoping it opens in the right program that I want. Like maybe I just want to listen to a song. I just want to hit spacebar and quickly scrub through it.
Oh, I see. Okay, I was confusing it with something else. I thought it's like the command or the start menu thing where you do a search. I thought it's that search. But no, it's a preview. I know, I understand now. So you have a file
Mhm.
selected, you press space, and if it's a photo, you see it bigger. If it's a
Yeah,
video or audio, it plays.
yeah.
See, I haven't used the Mac in 5 years, and I've already forgotten some things about it because, yeah, I didn't care much for it. It is a cool feature, but it's like not that important for me.
Mm.
Um, but that's cool. That now that you reminded me of that, that is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a free plugin. I think it was
Okay.
on the Windows Store. So there's that. Let's see. Another tweak I do for Windows is I use a platform called Rainmeter. That's an open source like widget customization tool.
Okay.
So now I have on the right edge of my desktop, I've got a skin. That's what they're called. These different like user interfaces. A rain meter skin that shows me my current CPU usage, RAM usage, free space, how big the recycle bin is. So I don't need to like right click properties or anything like that. I can just see how much is in my recycle bin, and it's
Hmm.
super customizable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a quick way that I can check to see. I like to see how much my CPU is working when I'm doing an export. I'm like, okay, am I really getting the full power right now? Or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, sometimes if I just want to see at a glance, oh, do I have space to copy this over to my local SSD?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I use that as like a little widget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, get access to information quicker. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool. I remember using widgets when they first were rolled out, but my computer was not. I think I had a laptop back then, and widgets would lag out my computer, so I haven't used them and forgot they're a thing. But that's cool.
yeah,
Um, hmm. I mean, maybe for some people that aren't too I wouldn't say tech savvy, but um, like I don't know if it's a correct assumption to make that everyone knows what VLC is. I assume most people do, but I don't think everyone. So VLC is freeware again that plays video and audio files. It's a Windows movie player, but not by Microsoft. And I use it. What I love about it is it's got a quick hotkey for slowing down or speeding up clips. So if I'm previewing, if I want to preview something and watch the slow motion part of it, I don't have to open Premiere, import it, make a sequence, get to where the thing is, do a cut, and then extend, speed ramp it. VLC just with the hotkey, just as soon as you're playing it, hotkey it up, and there you go. It's slowed down. And also, it's got another hotkey for viewing media information, so it shows me resolution, bitrate, frame rate, and a couple other things. And that's useful for when I'm getting footage from my client or from anybody else that I don't know what specs it has. And again, instead of me like instantly putting it into Premiere and have to start working with it, I can preview that information quickly in VLC. So
right.
I definitely use VLC for inspecting footage, like
Hmm.
video.
And for just watching your exports.
Yeah, like pre-selecting like I said, some slow-mo footage. So instead of okay, I filmed 100 slow-mo clips with my GoPro, instead of putting them all in Premiere and trying to sort and organize it there, instead I would from the card, like after I've backed it up, okay, which clips are the ones that look good? Those are the ones I'm copying to my project folder. That's what I'm importing to Premiere. So that's how I do that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So kind of like culling it before bringing it all into the project and having it
Mm-hmm.
analyze the waveforms and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just to free up because a file explorer window might be easier for me to snap and position and compare stuff rather than the library window inside Premiere. I
Hmm.
like to keep that as clean and as minimalistic as possible. Yeah. One interesting thing that I use, um, it's called Networks, and that's with an X at the end. Um, I use that for when I'm doing a live stream, or it basically monitors your bandwidth, your Ethernet, how much download speed and upload speed. So, for example, if like I do a speed test, right? Before
Hmm.
starting a live stream, I see what the Wi-Fi of the venue has. But if I want to monitor that while I'm streaming, if there's a dip, before I see the stream lagging, I'll see the dip because this is real time. Um, so it helps me to instantly notice, like, okay, it's dipping down. I gotta figure out why that's happening. Or if I see like my upload or my download speed randomly start going, I know that, okay, it's downloading an update or some program is doing something somewhere. And if that's an issue, like I'm on a data, like a mobile hotspot, I want to get on top of that and stop that right away because it's costing me money per gig, right? And this is just something that you can also put as a widget or as a floating window on your
Hmm.
screen, but I just have it on my taskbar next to like the apps in the quick access. Um, yeah, so networks, and that's also free. Actually, it was free up until version 5 point something. Past that, you have to pay, and also I think they screwed up something with the widget and it doesn't look as cool. Like you can customize colors and stuff, so I can make like the download be a green graph and the upload a red graph or vice versa. And when they're combined, it's like orange. I think they got rid of that and they made it really ugly. And I didn't want to pay for it, so I'm just sticking with the old version.
Nice. That sounds really handy for when you're live streaming or if you want to diagnose your internet.
Yeah, yeah. It's if I'm streaming a game or um in general, just if you want to monitor your bandwidth. Yeah.
Cool. Something that I use for monitoring as well. If I want to go more in depth than that rain meter widget,
Mm-hmm.
is MSI Afterburner. So you don't need an
Mm,
MSI computer or anything for this, but
mm-hmm.
that'll give you detailed graphs for your GPU usage, your CPU, like how your clock speed.
Mm-hmm.
You can separate it by different cores to see which cores are working harder.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also do some adjustments with that, like the fan speed or overclocking. So
Mm,
I haven't dabbled too much with that, but I like seeing the graphs to see like, if I've got hardware acceleration turned on in Premiere and I'm exporting, I want to see like how much how much of the power is it really harnessing?
mm-hmm.
Because if you set it to software only, you're going to go much slower. Obviously, if you have a supported graphics card.
Yeah.
So,
I forgot that I even have MSI Afterburner. I used to use it a couple years back. It actually was really handy. One of the features you mentioned, the fact that you can see like fan when the fan's kicking in, what speed it's at, and also the CPU or GPU temperature. So I had at one point my GPU was just like yelling, like it was just like way too loud. And I couldn't figure out if that's normal or if it was struggling with temperature. And MSI revealed that it's a temperature issue, so I had to reposition because the ventilation was too close to the air cooling, the airflow was too close to the wall.
uh,
So that was a good little diagnostic or a little hint of, hey, the temperature's gone up. Like I wouldn't be exporting anything, and it would start doing that. So that's kind of what tipped me to what is happening here. I need to monitor and see what's happening. And
mhm.
MSI Afterburner's free, so
Yes,
lots of cool free plugins and software that just make our life so much easier.
definitely.
Another one is TeamViewer. I use TeamViewer when I need to leave the computer, but I have a batch export or I need to do like incremental or instance export of the same file, or I want to inspect it. And if something went wrong, TeamViewer allows me to connect to my computer with my phone if I'm on the road, and I can hit export again or make the one change and continue my edit, sort of. So yeah, TeamViewer.
Yeah, I've used TeamViewer as well. I agree, it's awesome. At one point, I tried Google like Chrome Remote Desktop, and it does kind of a similar thing as
Mm-hmm.
TeamViewer, but you have to have Chrome open and running, so that's just an
Oh,
extra limitation. And so I'd say TeamViewer is probably superior to it and gives you more control. Like
I.
if you have
Mhm.
two monitors, TeamViewer gives you different options for,
Oh yeah.
do you want to see both of them or just one of them, stuff like that.
And recent versions of TeamViewer now let you hear audio too. Before you couldn't hear audio, so that again, like playing back a timeline, I get to hear. So if you know if I'm doing an edit, I that's relevant to the music, lining it up with music or audio, I can do that now remotely.
I just imagine you like sitting on the bus, you're going somewhere to a shoot, and you're like on your phone touchscreen, pinching and zooming into the timeline, moving your cursor,
Hmm.
like
I've had to do
post.
that, I think, twice.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but not like on the bus. It was like during a break at a shoot, right? So I'm like filming. Okay, it's lunchtime. Okay, let's quickly check the export. Oops, it had a compiling error. Okay, gotta fix it. So, oh,
Cool.
and
And
I
that's got a free
actually,
version too, right?
sorry.
That's got a free version as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got a paid version if you want more team support or if you want to add multiple computers to be accessible by the one host. But for my purpose, it's the free version's good enough. Just a
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one computer. And actually, I forgot to mention regarding the audio part. I also use something called Fruity Loop Studio. It's got a demo version. It's like a beat maker, and you can make synthetic music. And I'm not a musical person by any means, although I wish I was. But I like putting sound clips in there and using their audio filters. Like FL Studio has an two or three amazing reverb plugins that I'm not sure if Audition has. I'll have to look into that. But every time
Mm.
I've needed to add a reverb to like a specific type of reverb that's like deep but not annoying and not metal sounding, um, Fruity Loops is the way to go for me.
Awesome.
Yeah, here's an interesting one for you. In Gmail, because you mentioned Chrome, it reminded me. In Gmail, I have I don't know what the official actually. No, the stream doesn't see it because I cropped it out. Unlimited email tracker. It's a plugin for your web browser for Chrome, and it's compatible with Gmail. And the purpose of it is it actually tracks sent emails, if they've been viewed, how many times they've been viewed, and if links inside of the email have been clicked. So I know exactly when a client has viewed my email and when they've clicked the thing I sent them. So that's just good for um, if I want to do a follow up email, I can see like, okay, it's been 3 days. Have they opened it? No. Okay. Then maybe it's time to do a phone call instead of a follow up because maybe something's wrong. They can't access their email or I messed up the email address. But if they have seen it and clicked it and they haven't gotten back to me, then I know, okay, it's time for a follow up. Hey, how you doing?
Mm-hmm. So that's a feature that is in different CRMs, like customer relationship management software like HubSpot or Salesforce. But that's cool that you have something built into Gmail because maybe at your scale, you don't have a giant email list that you're managing, or you're
Mm-hmm.
not pushing out these giant email campaigns, but you still have this nice little feature.
Yeah. I find it actually amusing when like some clients will just like click the email once and they're like, yeah, okay, I understood everything. Other clients in a day will open it 40 times and I'm just thinking like, what are you doing? Why are you like constantly comparing me to other quotations you're receiving, or are you like, well, what did he say about getting the script when? So I don't know. It adds a new layer of mystery at the same time as revealing other stuff. So yeah, and it is just a free extension. I don't think they call it a plugin. They call it an extension for a web browser
Mm,
for Chrome. So only
gotcha.
Chrome, not Firefox. Maybe
Gotcha.
Firefox has a version, but I didn't look into it because Gmail.
Yeah, makes sense. Gmail's gonna run better on Chrome because they're both Google product.
Hmm.
Yeah, cool. Why don't we go over some plugins or effects we use when we're editing?
Okay. Keeping with the free list, animation composer is actually something that amazes me that it's like free. They've got obviously the paid version that is even more amazing, but basically it's a built-in interface if you add this plugin to both After Effects and Premiere Pro recently. They didn't used to have that, but basically it automatically animates stuff for you. So it can animate text for it to transition on screen and off screen. It can animate lower thirds. It can animate images also. Um, and that just makes your work so much easier because you have like a nice, polished, clean looking lower third animation that you don't have to manually do every time. So Animation Composer I highly recommend.
Cool. I think I used that for a bit, and you can also animate text by by character or by word. Is that right?
Yeah, so certain presets allow you to customize, and if you get the paid version, you can customize a whole bunch of stuff. Um, but just the free version is enough for like basic client needs, like add a lower third, and don't just like fade it in or make it just pop up. Like make it come from like swerving in, or have like one of those what do you call those effects when it pops in and it kind of expands a little bit, but then retracts back to normal. So it's got a bit of a wiggle to it.
Or like a bounce, kind of.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
So it just adds that extra polished look without any effort because it's a built-in preset.
Cool.
Um, and you can also get like transition packs that people have custom made, but there's no interface for customizing that. So you'd have to understand how the person made that preset in Premiere, and you just drag it on an adjustment layer. That's a bit more complicated, but Animation Composer just makes it easy.
Hmm. Cool. Oops.
No dubstep, Nate.
Swinging my
Boom.
hands around.
Do you have
Okay.
any free plugins?
Free ones. No, not really, actually. I found a few free transition packs sometimes, and you've probably found these too.
Yeah.
Like Motion Array or other websites will have they'll say, "Oh, here's 10 presets that I made," or
Yeah.
pre-keyed transitions.
hmm
That's good for switching between different scenes for good for motion graphics and stuff. So, there's assets out there that are free that you can use or that you can modify. Sometimes there's After Effects templates where you can put in your own text, change the colors, that kind of thing. But sometimes you need to weigh how much time it's taking you versus the cost of something that you could find. So, let's say something's $30, but that would take you 3 hours to make. You got to weigh your time versus how much it's costing. And sometimes it's the better idea to buy that template that you can use and quickly get it going instead of manually doing everything yourself. You might know how to do it, but you just don't want to invest the time to achieve that effect.
hmm Yeah, I can see your point there. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. One free, not free one, but it has free in the name. It's Flickr free.
Oh
That's
yeah.
by Digital Anarchy. They've got a few plugins, but Flickr free is one of the coolest ones. So, Doran, have you ever shot footage? And let's say you had your shutter speed set to something that was a little off from whatever the light frequency was at. So, let's say
hmm
the light is 60 hertz, but you're filming at like 40 or 70 or something weird. And
Yeah, I think that happens to me mostly when I'm filming in slow motion. Like
yeah,
after you slow down the clip, it's like
got
what's
like this
happening on my
pulsating.
screen? Yeah.
Yeah. So Flickr Free has adjustments to adjust that footage, and it can remove that flicker. It can analyze the frames before and after. So let's say it's flickering, pulsating at like a constant rate. You can
Mm.
set it to say, look before and look after this frame for that light
hmm
and make it constant. So it can do some pretty crazy things to save footage that maybe you didn't have a chance to change your shutter speed, or you were just run and gun trying to capture something for a documentary, and you don't want that distracting look of that weird banding effect or something's flashing like when you're shooting
hmm
slow mo. So
hmm
that can be a lifesaver right there. Flicker Free by Digital Anarchy.
hmm Yeah, I think we did use that at our previous workplace. So yeah, I do remember using it. It's simple, effective, awesome. I could have used it a couple of years back when I was filming a Christmas concert, and the Christmas tree LEDs were like cheap LEDs, and they were doing some weird because they weren't taking up the whole stage. The whole scene wasn't flickering, but they were creating like rolling bands, sort of. So that might be a
Hmm.
different issue. Flicker freeze, not the rolling band effect.
It
Um,
can adjust that too, I believe, actually.
oh, then yeah, wish I
That
had
can be
that
safety.
3 years ago. Instead I did. I can't remember what workaround. I looked up a YouTube tutorial and it found a workaround. I think because there was no motion in front of that, I just like did a still image and just cropped it there on the wide shot and just had it there
Uh,
permanently.
you
Uh,
froze it.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, one cool one that I want to mention that's free is Duik.
Okay.
Duik. It is insane. It allows you to do 2D animation by combining like declaring like this is a torso, this is a arm, this is a hand, this is a foot, and it just welds all of them together, and you can animate uh, like a 2D character that you've custom built. You can get preset ones too from different stock sites. But that's something really cool that I have not experimented with. But I know that if I would attain this, master this plugin, I would um, have more to offer my clients. So definitely that's a recent one that I have yet to master. But every time I watch a tutorial on it, I'm like, it's so amazing. It's so easy. It's so again having to animate manually and make layers connect and follow each other in After Effects takes so much longer. Whereas this thing just snap, 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 done. Character is done.
Mm.
Um,
I'm not an animator, but that would be called like rigging a character. Is that right?
yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You're
So that
you're
helps.
rigging your assets to a skeleton. Yeah. So
Cool.
that's obviously it works for bipedal, like a humanoid type of thing. It gets complicated for animal because it's like when you're telling it to animate a walking pattern, a dog is a quadruped.
Mm.
So um, I haven't mastered it. I haven't experimented enough with it. But yeah, I guess that would be the most exciting plugin I can say that I'm excited to learn and use. And the remix function in Audition, now you've got me hooked on that. I got a few ideas I got to try with that.
Awesome. And I'll definitely try free file sync and check that out first.
hmm
Cool.
Yeah, maybe experiment with a couple of folders that don't have anything significant, or with like just until like I think everything's pretty self-explanatory, but just to be safe.
Yeah, just get used to it.
Yeah, don't immediately like, okay, back up everything. Whoops. There goes my hard drive with my client work.
Yeah.
Wow. We've been talking for an hour. I thought this was gonna be a half-hour episode, but there's just there's so many useful tools and there's so much to say about them. But I think we covered the main our main resource in terms of software and plugins. So, in the future, if we add something new, we can say, "Hey, Nate, here's a new plugin I'm using. Check it out." So that's a segment we can add to future podcasts.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, before signing off, I have one Romanian word that I'd like to teach you.
All right.
Poveste.
Poveste.
Yeah, which is one word. Poveste.
Poveste.
Yeah, you got
Okay.
3 guesses. Go.
Podcast?
It's video related.
Okay.
It's not podcast. Podcast is
Not
podcast.
Poveste. Is it tripod?
Trepied. No. See, I was gonna do that, but because it's like the French equivalent, you would have guessed that that means tripod if I would have told you trepied. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna bother teaching you
So
that.
I just gotta I gotta Guess something completely random. That's not doesn't sound like
It's
that.
something we touched on last episode.
Last episode. I don't even remember what we talked about last episode. Something
Well,
we touched on.
watch the podcast, Nate, and you'll
Uh,
remember.
yeah, gotta go back to episode 7 and try and remember.
Hmm.
I don't know. Is it what's the word? Teleprompter.
No,
All
it's
right.
a story. So
Story.
last time
Okay.
we talked about storytelling,
Right.
and games that
It's been your
inspired
turn.
us. Yeah. So poveste means story.
Okay, Povesta.
Yeah.
So if you're like, cool Povesta, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, cool
Uh,
story, bro.
all right, I get you.
Yeah, so storytelling, and if you'd be talking with a Romanian client and you're trying to see what, how are we going to do the poveste, you can throw that in there to show them how
Uh,
impressive your Romanian is. You can start
yeah.
doing freelance stuff with Romanian clients now, Nate, because you can impress them with a few words like, oh, Blitz video trepied poveste. Nate
There you
Dixon
go. My
Media,
foot's
there
in
you
the door.
go. All right, well done, Nate. It was fun discussing all this with you, and yeah, I just want to go play with Audition now. So thank you very much for watching, our dear viewer or listener. Thank you for listening. Please leave a comment or a message letting us know maybe you know some free plugins or software that can aid us in our production workflow. Let us know. And let us also know what topics you would like us to cover in the future episodes.
And be sure to subscribe to not miss an episode of the Nate and Doran podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever you use to listen to podcasts. This has been Nate and Doran, so thank you for watching and listening.